Hey everyone! Ever wondered why someone would shoot with two different mirrorless camera systems? In this video, I'm sharing why I've chosen to work with both Sony and Canon cameras and how each played a unique role in my photography. It's a journey that started back in 2018 when my kids were just 1 and 3 years old. Since then, my gear has evolved to meet my needs as a travel and family photographer. So let's dive in. Let's go back to 2018. At the time, I was a long-time Canon photographer, nearly 2 decades. But when I started looking for a mirrorless camera, Canon didn't have what I needed. I had 2 little ones, just 1 and 3 years old, and I was eager to use something light and small that could easily fit into my diaper bag. I was also looking for eye autofocus feature that could focus faster and better than DSLR cameras in low light conditions at home settings and could track constant motion even when I take pictures with only one hand. That's when Sony entered the picture. They were leading the mirrorless market with cutting-edge autofocus and compact camera bodies. The Sony a7 III became my first mirrorless camera and soon replaced my big and bulky Canon DSLR for candid shots of my kids. It felt like Sony was exactly what I needed at the time. Fast forward a couple years later, I found myself drawn back to Canon. What brought me back? The lens. I got someone recently telling me this: you date your camera, but you marry your lens. Whoever said that originally was absolutely spot on. For me, having the right lens that's suitable for my photography needs and style is crucial. Over the years, my favorite lens has always been 70 to 200mm f2.8. I actually talked about this lens in one of my recent videos, so make sure you check it out. When Canon introduced its RF 70 to 200mm f2.8, it was the smallest one I could find in the market. As someone who travels often, having compact gear is essential. This lens is no-brainer, a perfect choice for me. The only problem was it could only be mounted on Canon mirrorless cameras. That's why I bought a Canon mirrorless camera just for this lens. And by the way, in case you're in the middle of upgrading your camera gear from DSLR to mirrorless but don't know what and how to choose, check out my Mirrorless Camera Ultimate Buying Guide, where I have simplified the overwhelming world of mirrorless cameras, helping you pinpoint what you actually need. I talked about not only how to choose cameras, but also lenses. And then there's Canon's color science. After years of using Canon, switching to Sony felt, well, a little different. Even with post-processing, I sometimes wondered why I couldn't achieve the same result. Canon's color science just works for me. It's consistent, authentic, and requires less tweaking in post. Now, after using both systems for years, I don't find this a huge issue anymore, but it did cause me a few headaches at the beginning. Another key factor in my switch was usability. While the Sony a7 III was one of Sony's most popular cameras at that time, its menu system was challenging. Setting up something as basic as eye autofocus requires quite a bit of research and customization. When I got Canon R5 in 2020, it was a completely different experience. Canon's menu system is intuitive and user-friendly. I was able to set up the camera and start shooting almost immediately. No deep dive into forums, no lengthy tutorials, just straightforward operation. Even after upgrading from Sony a7 III to Sony a7 IV later on, Canon still wins in terms of ease of use. It's streamlined and saves me tons of time. Another surprise advantage of Canon, the file size. My Canon R5 is a 45 megapixel camera, yet its RAW files are mostly between 40 to 50 megabytes. Compare that to my Sony a7 IV, which is only 33 megapixel camera, but its RAW files often exceed 70 megabytes. Some might argue Canon's files use more aggressive compression, but I haven't noticed any loss in quality. The smaller file sizes mean I can store more photos on my memory cards and external drives, a lifesaver when I'm shooting tens and thousands of photos on a trip. So, why do I still use Sony? It's all about lenses. Sony has an amazing lineup of compact primes like the 24mm, 35mm, or 55mm, not to mention the third-party lineups. Paired with Sony's slightly smaller bodies, they are perfect for street photography or lightweight travel setups. For me, Sony shines when I want to stay low-key for everyday family and street moments. It's also great for indoor, low-light scenarios when you don't want to use a big and bulky prime lens. In a nutshell, the compactness of Sony's prime lenses win over Canon. Using both systems allows me to optimize my lens pairing. Over time, I've learned to minimize lens swaps, especially in crowded urban settings or windy outdoor scenarios where dust and safety could be a concern. With Canon, I only use zoom lenses so I don't have to chase my kids and miss the moments in outdoor settings, while my Sony setup is reserved for prime lenses such as the 35 for street photography, 24 for night photography, and indoor YouTube videos like this. And it's perfect balance that keeps my gear lightweight and functional no matter the scenario. In the end, it's not about choosing which brand over another, it's about choosing the right tools for your photography. For me, Canon and Sony each bring unique strengths that perfectly complement my style. If you're also considering dual systems or have questions about either brand, drop them in a comment below. Don't forget to like this video if you find it helpful and subscribe for more photography tips in the future. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.